Filmmakers have been making documentaries for more than 100 years. Back in 1922, Nanook of the North was made by Robert Flaherty, and it's considered the first documentary ever made. Historically, this has not been a commercial production, and the producer funds most documentaries. But this has changed over the last years. This is why documentary work can become your biggest source of income as a filmmaker. My name is Kristian Warwick. I'm a full-time filmmaker and photographer based in Oslo, Norway. I work with brands like Red Bull, Oakley, and BMW. So far this year, my one-man production company, Mild Studio, has a revenue of around $200,000. The last 12 months, I've made almost $100,000 on documentary work alone. A while ago, I read an article that said that documentaries are becoming one of the best ways to build a brand and market a product. A genre that historically has been much more of a journalistic piece of work can now serve as something else. Let me give you an example. I watched the Netflix doc about David Beckham and found myself on Adidas' website the same day as I finished the show. Why did I do that? The doc made me more of a fan of the soccer legend himself, and thus when I saw him in all of his Adidas gear, I felt an immediate urge to get some of the same items myself. Even though I knew about these processes and how the marketing team's probably been planning this for a long time and wanted me to be in front of that website, I found myself shopping that night. I did not actually end up with any Adidas gear, but I was very close. Not unlike this story, I found myself looking at more Nike gear after watching the Michael Jordan documentary. But more importantly, I became a bigger fan of Jordan himself. The brand Michael Jordan was stellar in my eyes after this documentary, and I even started defending the behavior of his that I didn't even like. You might ask yourself how this could help you make money as a documentary filmmaker. You don't have a Netflix deal, and you don't have access to the biggest stars of the sports, music, or business world. But don't worry, you don't need to actually have any of those contacts. Actually, your documentary work can make you a living without ever ending up online. Almost 3 years ago, I started a project with my best friend. He had just won the Olympics after a horrible accident that nearly killed him 9 months before the games. The goal was to document his journey going forward to the World Championships in March of 2024, this year, including the story of his way back to the 2022 Olympics and the accident. Part of the motivation was to get a sponsor to join us on this journey and see the value in a documentary series stretching over 2 years. We did, we found the sponsor, and his career was kind of funded by this because they saw the value in making this documentary. This again opened my eyes to documentary work, and I fell in love with it. This was my entry into the world of documentary, and I immediately started looking for new ways to document other people's stories. I documented my own and someone else's. I've deleted those from my YouTube channel, but within the next few weeks I will post them again. And I guess that is a good excuse for you to just subscribe to this channel, isn't it? When I first entered the world of documentary, I didn't see how that would bring me the big bucks. With my friend, it was different because they weren't paying me for the product, they were supporting him, and I was the one activating the sponsorship. I quickly realized I had to start pitching these ideas to my clients, and when I read the article that I mentioned in the intro, I realized how to do just that. It's all about showing your client how they can get the most out of your videos. If you're not able to show the value your work can give to the company, I don't see why they would buy your services in the first place. And certainly not why they would pay you $10,000 to $15,000 for it. How this value is created will differ from company to company. If Nike had a documentary made on their story, chances are the value would be in having it on a streaming platform like Netflix. Nike is a big and attractive brand to a lot of us, and so we would most likely click on it if the documentary was released on a big streaming platform. If you have a great story, you could succeed with a small brand or company having their documentary on a streaming platform. But that would be more of a risky goal. How do you get Clara's coffee shop on the corner of a side street in Richmond, Virginia, this is a made-up coffee shop, on Netflix? Remember, you won't make money until you sell it, unless you're asked to produce it and charge for the work beforehand. So you either have to sell it or be a Netflix producer. But this is where I feel like I've solved the puzzle. I have realized that the documentaries don't need to be on the streaming platforms and they don't need to be online at all. There's more value in never posting them anywhere, for you and for your client. Let me explain. Some of my clients have more than 10,000 employees. 10,000, that's a lot of people. And here's where the pitch is. What if you could motivate these 10,000 employees with 0.0001%? With a hypothetical revenue of $1 billion, 0.0001% more motivated employees, when there are 10,000 of them, will most likely result in a big number when it comes to the revenue. So if you charge $50,000 for something that could potentially lead to an increase of hundreds of thousands of dollars in a year, wouldn't that be a pretty cheap investment for the client? Remember that the pitch is all about communication. But the communication needs to be honest and it needs to be true. I'll get back to this. So how does a documentary make the 10,000 employees more motivated? Our job as a documentary filmmaker is to be able to make the viewer feel something. Remember that word. Feel. That is the essence of documentaries. If we can make the audience feel good, proud, happy, and grateful about being a part of this company or this journey, chances are you will motivate them. And that's your selling point. And then you have created value as long as the company shows this work to their employees. A lot of my work has been used for internal events and never been posted online. And there are some great benefits to this. I am not talking about the rights for music. You should always make sure you are covered for the client work you are doing. And luckily, I can offer you a free trial of Musicbed. Hit the link below if you want to try what I think is the best music provider on the market today. So what are the benefits of your client only using this internally? I'm sure you have experienced seeing your work posted on your client's social media and the reach didn't end up being all that good. I've had clients pay quite a lot of money for my work and 50 people have seen it. It's not our job as filmmakers to make sure the video spreads to the target group, but we still might be judged on the result of the reach. By making internal content, you know that the target group will see the video. The purpose, which is for everyone you want to watch the video, is better served by using it internally. The client knows that they can show this to their 10K employees. Another great benefit is that you will get direct feedback. Whenever the client comes back to me saying that people were tearing up, they loved it, or they felt such a pride of working here, I feel great. As a creative, nothing beats that feeling. Not even the invoice you are sending them after. It's great for me to get that feedback, but another great benefit is that the clients will see it firsthand. They can get direct feedback from the target group and by that confirm that it was worth the investment. So what kind of documentaries can you make that will have your clients feel this way? This is where your creativity comes in handy. You need to find the story, the emotional piece, and the people to tell these stories. Unless your client already has all of this in place, which is kind of rare, I guess. But if I was to help you a little bit, I would suggest the following. Make documentaries about the people, about their journeys and extraordinary things they have experienced with the company. Find their stories. Make documentaries about challenges that have been faced and which the company has overcome. Make documentaries about the victories and don't focus on the victory as in, we made this much money, but rather how one team worked together to achieve something extraordinary. Make documentaries on how a job changed the life of a person. What happened when the lone wolf got a job as a cashier? How did it change the life of this person when an employer gave him or her a chance? Or about how the culture in company X made Sanna a better mother, Stan a better husband, and Rachel a better daughter-in-law. The possibilities are endless, but these are the stories I want to hear. And I think these are the stories most people would like to hear. We can easily check the revenue and numbers on numerous websites. We can't see culture on a piece of paper. Documentaries show culture. It shows DNA. Now you might ask yourself, how much should I charge for these things? Well, it's not black and white. Documentaries are not like your good old 2 days of shooting and 3 days of post-production. You obviously have to look at your actual expenses. Do you need additional crew? Do you need to pay for rent of location? Things like that. These are expenses that are unnegotiable, out of your control. Your day rates are easier to be more lenient on. My day rates are usually between $2,500 and $3,000 for a shoot day, all gear included, and $1,500 to $2,000 for post-production. I don't lose money by charging less. But I always say that it's better to get $10,000 10 times than to get $30,000 once. Or $1,000 10 times than $5,000 once. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to understand this, but I still feel like a lot of people will chase that one big project rather than thinking long term. This is the basis of a retainer. Smaller amounts more frequently rather than one big amount once. I can share what I usually do when I price a project like this. Depending on the duration of the project, I will usually go down on my day rates as I know that the day rates I operate with on a 1 or 2 day production will blow most long-term production budgets out of proportions. I've had projects where I've been filming quite frequently over a period of 6 months, and I have had projects where we filmed over 3 to 5 days and got our documentary finished based on those days only. Sometimes you might even have archive footage that can save you a lot of work in terms of shooting days. The more days, the more discount I usually give my clients on my day rates. For me, this is just about being more reasonable. Make it more reasonable for the client to pay. So if we are filming 30 days, my day rates will not be $2,500. I will usually talk to the client about the total budget and find a way to compromise. That usually involves lower day rates and sometimes less days of shooting. So I will have my unnegotiables and then I have my day rates. I like being predictable and I think my clients appreciate that as well. Thus, I will give my client a fixed price before we start the project, and if post-production ends up being more work than anticipated because of me underestimating the time it would take, I won't charge more. I also usually cover the music rights. The price is what it is unless the clients add something that was not a part of the deal. So what if the clients think that this is too expensive? Sometimes it just is too expensive for them. You might have to adjust to the client and the size of the client, and there's an obvious difference between a company like Apple and Clara's coffee shop. And sometimes the amount of days you want to film is not realistic for the client, and the project you thought would be huge ended up being medium to small. Not that your product isn't worth what you are offering, they might just not have the budget to pay $50,000 for a documentary. If that's the case, you have to decide whether or not this is a project you want to move on with. It might still be worth your time, not just financially, but in portfolio work and almost as a passion project. But you can also improve your communication and that could change their perspective. I've realized that the more I have worked with clients, the more confident I have become in terms of knowing my value and my product's value. If I can argue that this will most likely give them a return in value and show that they might have a bigger budget after all. But the most efficient way to create more value would be to show how this project could save money for the next month or maybe even the next year. If you are filming B-roll shots of something relevant to the business, you will most likely be able to use this for future productions. Thus, you can get much cheaper products or productions in the future. In that way, the investment in the documentary will not be a one-time investment, but rather a more sustainable investment in future videos. A lot of clients of mine will call me up and ask me if I can make something based on the shots we already have. This saves them for a lot of money every time. For me, it's a win-win, as I am always getting jobs based on work I already was paid for. For this to work, you need to own the raw material, and you can see more on this in my contract video that I made a few months ago. And so to the answer of my question above about how much to charge. I don't know your day rates and the size of your clients, but you do. This is the foundation for what you should charge. This video is not about giving you a straight answer to how much you should charge, but rather that you can charge for this and make this genre a living without getting it on the screen or into film festivals. But let's be honest. Making documentaries for companies is not all fun and not at all seamless. Documentaries usually are products of art. It's something you as a storyteller own and you fall in love with, and it's your baby. But you have to share this baby with someone or someone's, the client. And that's usually not just one person. There might be 10 different people, opinions, and some people didn't like that shot. That happened to be your favorite shot. And some people thought it was too emotional at the end, which was your goal with the whole thing. Compromises with client work is not a new thing, but it's harder when it comes to documentaries. I think there's just more art and more personal investment for us to look at it in the same way as normal client work. But we still have to live with it. If you can approach a client documentary with the same passion and love as you would with a passion project, but still with the knowledge that this might be shut down mid-production, like this idea, and you'll be fine. It will hurt. Others will kill your darlings, and you will hate it at times. But I have realized that I would much rather make documentaries and deal with the above than keep making short-form videos that don't leave me or the viewer with much. So yes, you can make a living making documentaries. You don't need to even have them published for you to make decent money on it. It's about you, your pitch, and how you communicate. Create value for your clients and show them how you are the one to do just that. Good luck and thanks for watching. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate you subscribing. See you in the next one.